Hi, my name is Zach Simmons, and this is Pro Football Today. It's a free agency. It opened up just a few weeks ago. I know this is a late video. I mentioned this video a few weeks ago that I was going to do this, and if you've been looking forward to it, I'm sorry. But better late than never, right? This is my winners and losers of free agency so far. A week away from the draft, things can change. Right before the draft, they can change in draft, and of course, they can change after the draft. But how things run right now, these are my winners and losers. So I'm going to try to go quickly through this. If you want to know more details of what I'm saying, or if you say, well, you didn't mention this, what about this? Definitely post those in the comments, and I will get back to you on those definitely. But my number three loser. I'm going to start with losers first. Number three loser are the New York Jets. This is the reason. When you have a young quarterback, like Sam Darnold, your job as a GM and head coach is to bring in talent around that quarterback if you don't already have talent established. And the Jets do not have that talent established. They did this poorly last year. Last year they added Le'Veon Bell. When you have a quarterback, you need to establish a running game to help them out. Very good move. But the problem is they missed the biggest thing, which was getting receivers. They had one receiver, that being Joshua Bellamy, who should be a fourth string receiver. He's not going to be that much of a help to young quarterback. He's going to be some help, but not the kind of help that Darnold needed. And they did add Demaryius Thomas, who definitely passed his prime. But I have the Jets on here because they failed to once again protect and help the young quarterback. They let Robbie Anderson go to Carolina, their number one receiver, the most talented receiver, gone. Now the best option is Quincy Enunwa, who really should not be a number one option. They need help in this draft. If I were them, I'd be looking at receiver first thing and second thing. They need receivers, and luckily this is a draft class that can help them out with that. They also lost Demaryius Thomas, so it's signed him to a one-year deal. Thomas is a decent receiver. He's not where he used to be. That's an okay loss. But this is another big thing. They did a very good job adding interior linemen to help out Le'Veon Bell. That's more of a help for Bell than it is for Darnold. If you're Darnold, if you worry about being sacked, you're going to have to worry about those tackles. And what happened to those tackles? Well, they let them walk. Ryan Khalil's gone. Kelvin Beachum is gone. They replaced them with George Fant, who's a decent option there at tackle. They gave him a pretty decent deal. But that solves one position as a help out the other side. They need a tackle very badly. They did get McGovern and Van Roden, two good interior linemen. Very good job for them. I'll give them credit for that. And then they replaced Robbie Anderson and Demaryius Thomas with Breshad Perriman, who he did come off of his best year this year. However, he's still not a viable option. They need another guy there. They need a receiver one and possibly a receiver two. Perriman, I would say, on a good team, probably should be a fourth string receiver. I know Tampa Bay has a great receiving core. Here is number three. But I would say Perriman ideally should probably be at fourth string. You should probably have three receivers above him. And right now, he's receiver number two there with the Jets. So they need receivers very badly. But they did do a very good job at cornerback. They got Pierre Desir. They brought back Brian Poole. So I'll give them credit for that. The thing with the Jets, this draft, they do have a little bit more to do than other teams. That's why I have them here. And also because of their lack to recognize, once again, that they need to help Sam Darnold. They think that, well, Sam Darnold just needs a good offensive coach and that should get him through it. No, he needs playmakers around him as well. And even them, not sure they got the offensive-minded coach that they were hoping they were going to be getting. But that's why the Jets down here. It's not because they're awful. It's not because, well, they're going to be last place. They're going to be awful this year. If you're a Jets fan, duck and cover. No, it's just that they have a lot of work to do. But it's work that can be done. You draft a couple receivers. Maybe you just draft one receiver. You draft a receiver, you draft a tackle in the first 2 rounds. You're already in a good spot. and maybe you go out there and grab Paul Richardson. So come around when I do my division predictions, Jets might be higher up because of some of the moves they made. But so far, they're definitely one of my losers because once again, they did not. It seems like once again they failed to recognize that they need to help their young quarterback. All right, so number 2, I have Minnesota. Why do I have Minnesota here? Is it because I'm a Bears fan? No. I don't like some of the moves they made, especially the people they decided to let go. They traded Stephon Diggs for a first-round pick. Now, very good. You get a first-round pick out of that. Maybe you replace Diggs with a receiver. Hopefully that's what happens here because so far his replacement is Tajae Sharpe, who's not that great of an option. He's a good number 2, number 3. But he's definitely not as good as Diggs. Diggs is a good number 1 option. So if they wanted to keep that wide receiver tandem of 2 very solid receivers, they kind of missed out on that, letting Diggs go in place and him with Sharpe. So hopefully with that first round pick, maybe they draft a receiver. But they have multiple needs, mainly on the defense. They let Everson Griffin go. They let Mackenzie Alexander, Xavier Rhodes, Trey Waynes, their top 3 corners, they let walk. And as to date, they have not picked up another cornerback. So now you need to draft a receiver to help out Kirk Cousins. Because Thielen and Sharpe, I'm not sure that's going to help him out as much. But you need to get some cornerbacks as well. So, yeah, Minnesota has some issues right now. They have some troubles. I will say, good job getting Michael Pierce. That should be helpful in the defensive front, but you need cornerbacks, especially in the NFC North. You're going against guys like Marvin Jones, Kenny Galladay, Devontae Adams, and Allen Robinson. 6 weeks, 6 of your 16 games. You're going against top-notch receivers, and you don't have a cornerback who can cover them right now. So they need to attack cornerback in this draft, maybe get Logan Ryan, but right now they're definitely in a scary position, scarier than a lot of other teams. But my biggest loser, for very similar reasons to each of these, to the Jets and Minnesota, is the Redskins. This is the reason. Number 1, they have not been able to help out the rookie quarterback, Dwayne Haskins. Well, not rookie anymore, but you know what I mean. He needs guys around him. They let Paul Richardson go. He's got Terry McLaurin. He's got a great connection with McLaurin. McLaurin can be a number 1 option, but they need number 2 and number 3. They got a number 4 and Corey Latimer. Corey Latimer should not be your 2nd string. Corey Latimer should not be your 3rd string. If Corey Latimer is your 4th string, you should be in a good spot. They need 2 other receivers to help out Dwayne Haskins. They lost Vernon Davis due to retirement. They lost Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed was riddled with injuries before, so it makes sense to let him walk, but they have not picked up a tight end to date. They need a tight end to help out Dwayne Haskins. Washington's always been better when they have a tight end. They've had great histories with tight ends lately. Vernon Davis has been a good option for them the last couple of years. And of course, Jordan Reed has been a great option for them. But that's not the only issues. So they have a lot of work to do to help Dwayne Haskins. That's probably going to be more than the draft can deal with. You're looking for a tight end or 2. You're looking for maybe 2 receivers in there. So there's 4 picks right there you have to deal with. But then they let all of their corners walk as well. Aaron Colvin, Quinn Dunbar, Josh Norman, Dominic Rogers-Cromartie, and Kayvon Webster, all gone. They did replace them with Kendall Fuller and Ronald Darby, but now you need 3 new corners. At least one of them need to be a starting caliber corner. So now you have to build up your offense around Dwayne Haskins. Luckily, you don't have to look for a running back. Luckily, if Trent Williams comes back, you don't have to worry about the offensive line. But you need to have receivers. You need to have a tight end. And now you need cornerbacks as well. Kendall Fuller's a very, very good pickup. I like that pickup. But you need at least one more starting caliber cornerback. So you add all of that together. That's a lot of work. And more than likely, they're not going to be able to do all of this work this offseason, meaning that Washington probably will be bottom tier again, last place in the NFC East. We'll see if maybe things can change. Maybe they just getting Chase Edmonds for the 2nd pick can help them out so much. So we'll see exactly what happens there. Um, but they need a lot of help. And saying that they're probably going to go Chase Edmonds, I mean, they need receivers badly. This is a good draft for receivers. They also need a tight end. Can they get all this done knowing they're going defense with the first pick and knowing they're not going cornerback with their first round pick? They have a lot of work. And honestly, it could be that they just need to go and grab Paul Richardson back, bring him back, and then go and grab someone like Logan Ryan. That could be helpful. You still need those tight ends. Maybe you deal with a guy who really shouldn't be a starter. You take the downgrade from Jordan Reed, whoever you get. But that's probably not going to elevate them over the Giants. So they might be last place again, depending on if they do anything miraculously this draft or afterwards. But I'm fully expecting Washington. They have too much. They have too much to do. I'm not sure they have enough time this offseason to do it. So that's why I have Washington as my biggest loser. Your defense is in shambles, and you don't do anything to help out your young quarterback. Not a good combination for a winning football team. Anyway, those are my losers. If I hurt your feelings, if you're a Jets fan, Viking fan, or a Redskins fan, I'm sorry. But there's definitely a chance these teams can get better. It's just right now they have lost the first wave of free agency. I know what you're thinking too. Why isn't Houston on this list? Well, they made one terrible trade, one awful trade that will go down in history as one of the worst trades of all time. Trade away DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson. But they did a decent job cleaning it up. They were able to go and pick up Randall Cobb, who's a good receiver. They didn't stop there. They traded for Brandon Cooks, who's another good option. They let Lamar Miller go, Carlos Hyde go. I don't think that's a very good option. I would take one of them any day over David Johnson. But they did start to clean things up. The offense doesn't look as bad as it did before. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins is better than Randall Cobb and Brandon Cooks combined. But I didn't feel like... I felt like they did a very good job picking up the pieces after that terrible trade, that I didn't put them in my top 3 losers. So that's why I didn't have them in here. So let's go to the winners. Believe it or not, the third winner that I have really don't win much at all. I can't remember the last time they won anything. The Cleveland Browns. They did a very good job this offseason. There's a couple things I really didn't like, and that's they lost Joe Sherbert and they lost Christian Kirksey. 2 big losses for Cleveland. However, I think they were able to make some really smart decisions. Knowing that they probably couldn't spend that much money, they wanted to spend money around the offense to help out Baker Mayfield. This is what Washington and the Jets need to figure out. They brought back Kareem Hunt. This is an underrated one, by the way. They traded for Andy Janovich. I love this. I love the fullback. If you look at the playoffs last year, most of the teams that were in the playoffs had a fullback, utilized a fullback. About every single team that utilized a fullback was in the playoffs, minus Denver, who had Andy Janovich. So very good decision. I like Janovich, one of the best fullbacks. Very good pickup there, but these are the 2 pickups that really are going to help out Baker Mayfield. They were able to go and grab Austin Hooper. They spent a lot of money. I think a little too much money on Austin Hooper. He's had one very good season before that. He was decent. He wasn't awful. He was decent. But to have him alongside David Njoku, very, very good. They replaced Demetrius Harris with Austin Hooper, who's a very good tight end. Good job giving Baker Mayfield another option. Then they also go and grab Jack Conklin, one of the best tackles, if not the best tackle in football right now. So you add some more stability to that offensive line, which is what the Browns are known for, is that offensive line. Now they actually have a quarterback. Given though this year, a lot of people think maybe they don't have that quarterback, but I think Baker will be just fine. He's better than a lot of other quarterbacks. I'd take him over any day over Charlie Fry. But to establish that line again, to give him another option, to secure Kareem Hunt, very, very good job. Then they replaced Demarius Randall with Carl Joseph and Andrew Sendejo. They replaced TJ Carey with Kevin Johnson. These aren't very good upgrades. In fact, you can argue maybe these aren't upgrades at all, but it kind of maintains everything. And yes, they lost linebackers, but this is Cleveland. They've done a very good job at drafting linebackers. They have a really hard time maintaining linebackers, but they're very good at grabbing linebackers. You can use a couple of your picks on linebackers, and they'll be just fine. So that's why I have Cleveland on here. They did a very good job helping out Baker Mayfield. Yes, it took losses at linebacker, but they were able to kind of stabilize everything else. Another signing before I move on was Adrian Claiborne, who maybe isn't what he used to be, but he's still a very good option that's going to help out that defensive front, especially after losing Ogba. All right, second winner, of course, I had to put them in this. Tampa Bay. They really made one big move, and that's going to elevate them from mediocre status to just decent status with Jameis Winston to now championship potential with Tom Brady. And yes, I think Brady is just that good to make the difference. The reason is Jameis threw for 30 touchdowns, sure. Jameis threw for 30 picks, and Tom Brady, even though he's looked worse and worse, his QBR doesn't really get better each year the last few years. He still does not throw picks. He doesn't throw a lot of picks. If Jameis didn't throw 30 picks, if maybe he threw 10, they're a playoff team. They have the weapons, and Brady, I think, is going to have a heyday. I think he's going to love it there in Tampa. This is the best receiving core he's ever been graced to have. They lost Peyton Barber. That's not that much of a loss. He's probably the better option between him and Ronald Jones, but they need a running back anyway. Maybe, just maybe, they grab Jonathan Taylor. Who knows? Maybe he's going to be open by their pick. That should help him out tremendously. They lost Perryman. They lost Carl Nassib. Nassib's a decent defensive end, kind of an underrated guy. But they were able to keep Shaquille Barrett. They were able to keep JPP and Sue, and they signed Kevin Minter. I mean, they really didn't lose a whole lot. They didn't gain a whole lot, but they got Tom Brady. They lost Jameis, and they got Brady. Brady's definitely a better option. I've never cared for Brady, so it's hard for me to say that, but he's definitely an option, a better option over Jameis Winston, and an option that very well can bring them to the playoffs. So that's why I have them going up. They really didn't lose a whole lot. They lost a running back who should have been benched this year anyway, and they lost Jameis, who this was his best season, and he threw 30 picks. That should say it all right there. Biggest winner, though, believe it or not, and I have to get used to saying this, the biggest winner in free agency, the Las Vegas Raiders. This is why. They only had 4 big losses, which were Tahir Whitehead, Vontaze Burfict, Daryl Worley, and Carl Joseph. All 4 of these guys can easily be replaced. Carl Joseph's a decent safety. Daryl Worley is a decent corner. And Whitehead and Burfict really aren't where they used to be. And then they added Nelson Aguilar, who he's been spotchy. He's been good, sometimes bad. Sometimes I think he's a good third string option, better fourth string. But anyway, that's going to help out Derek Carr. Or it could help out Marcus Mariota. Who knows? Maybe Mariota is going to be taking a Tannehill route after Tannehill ran that on him. And maybe you're going to see Mariota and they're starting for the Raiders at some point. I think it's kind of unlikely, but it can happen. But they replaced Whitehead and Burfict. Whitehead, if I'm right, was more of an edge rusher there with them. So they replaced him with Carl Nassib, who I think is a decent upgrade over him. I think that might actually be an upgrade. But this is the key. Their linebacking core. Got Nick Rukowski from Chicago and got Corey Littleton from the Rams. 2 very good options at linebacker. 2 very good options. And then they go and grab Demarius Randall and Jeff Heath at safety. This is a better team. This is a better team. Defensively, they are in a very good spot. And then also Malik Collins, D tackle, there as well. I mean, this is one very, very good team. Yes, they didn't do a whole lot on offense. Do they have the receiver? There's a good chance. All they need is just one guy. They just need that number 1 guy. They lost that when they when they cut Antonio Brown, which he should have been cut. They didn't really have the number one option except for Tyrell Williams, who I think is a better number two. They can get the number one guy here in the draft. They can go and get Ruggs. They can go and get Jerry Jeudy. So, I mean, really, they're in a good spot. They can get that extra receiver to help out Derek Carr, and then you have the defense built up. I mean, yeah, you didn't go crazy in corners, but they got some really good linebackers. Krukowski and Littleton are very good inside linebackers. So, I mean, the Raiders will be a good team this year. And you know what? They might be able. We saw the Chargers a couple years ago as a very good team. They made playoffs. They completely dropped it last year. But maybe the Raiders will be one of those teams, a surprise team that will come out of the ranks. I think they've done a very good job in defense. Offense can use a little bit of work, but they have the draft. It can happen. No team right now is in a perfect spot. No team's in a perfect spot right now. You can say, well, what about San Fran and KC? They didn't really lose a whole lot. They didn't gain a whole lot. Aren't they going to be about the same? There's still some sort of losses. Every team kind of goes through that. It's at the draft level that we figure out what's actually going on. So we'll see a little bit more here later once the draft goes next week. But that's what I have right now. Three losers. We have the Jets, we have the Vikings, and we have Washington. All three teams can... they definitely do have a chance to get better. I don't think Washington, you're going to see them really even out. It's going to take them a couple of years. It's a couple of rebuilding years. So if you're a Redskins fan, just sit back and relax. It's not that your team's going to be terrible forever. It's just that you just need a couple off seasons to go your way, and everything will be just fine. Being a Bears fan, we had that for a few years. Try and figure out what's going on with the defense, try and figure out what's going on with the receiving core, and everything came together all at once. It helped when Khalil Mack came in. We added Allen Robinson, Taylor Gabriel, so things can take a change. Anything can happen at this point. So if you're a Redskins fan, just sit back and watch. I wouldn't have too high of hopes, but who knows, you might find a hidden gem out there. And then winners, Cleveland, Tampa Bay, and Vegas. All three of these teams, I think, they weren't playoff teams last year. Now they may have already stepped up into playoff caliber teams without the draft happening yet. These are three teams you definitely need to watch: Cleveland, Tampa Bay, and Vegas. But that's what I have this time around for Pro Football Today. In a few days, I'll have some. I'm going to be talking draft quarterbacks, who I think are going to be the best quarterbacks this draft, who I think are going to be the biggest busts this draft. So if your team's looking for a quarterback, check in. I should have a video on Wednesday. But thank you so much for watching. If you have any comments, maybe I got this wrong. Maybe you're a Jets fan. Maybe you're a Redskins fan. Maybe you're a Vikings fan and you think I got this completely wrong. Put that in the comments. I'd love to read it. I like to hear what you guys have to say. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good rest of your day.